Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about how to be a better conversationalist. So I get a lot of questions from you guys about how to have a conversation with women, how to keep the conversation going, and I've actually done an entire video about how to keep a conversation going. But more specifically today, I think this is just great advice for having a great conversation with anyone, not just women specifically. So if you want to wow people with your conversation skills, let's get started. Number one, I have be a good storyteller. So you really want to learn how to tell stories in a way that resonates with the person or the audience that you're speaking to specifically. This makes the story and you sound more interesting and keep your audience engaged. So stories take concepts and facts and make them into more of an emotional structure, making them more memorable. Being a good storyteller helps engage your audience and keep their attention. Have you ever been listening to someone tell a story and it's all over the place? They've lost you somewhere in the middle and you have no idea where they ended up or how they ended up there? The delivery and the way that you execute a story is equally, if not more important than the story itself. Something very interesting here is that recent research has found that men who are good at telling stories are viewed as more attractive by women. The reason is that skilled storytellers may seem more able to gain authority or have more influence over people, and it also makes you seem a lot more interesting. Now, I'm not telling you guys to make up a bunch of stories and lie to people and say a bunch of stuff that isn't true. That's not what I'm telling you at all, but just get good at telling the stories that are true and real and relevant to you. Everyone should have at least 1 to 3 good stories to tell on a first date or in an interesting situation. Number 2 is become well-read, and this goes further than just the books that you're reading, but really all of the content that you're consuming on a daily basis. The content you're consuming and the things that you're putting into your brain are so important, and I think not enough people realize this. Read good books, subscribe to quality podcasts and YouTube channels, get rid of all that toxic, negative content in your life because it affects the way that you not only view yourself, but also the way you view and interact with the people around you. So the more you know, the more you'll be able to bring to a conversation and be a better conversationalist. It just makes your entire experience a lot easier when you know what you're talking about. So when it comes to reading, there have been studies shown that people who read often are more empathetic, which definitely helps when you're in conversations with people as well. Not only that, it also helps your vocabulary. Point number 3 is to be genuinely curious and interested. You can learn a lot about people by being genuinely curious and interested in them. Don't be afraid to ask questions and get to know someone. People who are not interesting or curious don't bring anything to the conversation because they don't genuinely want to know. And you should be contributing and asking questions to bring something to the conversation besides just relying on that other person to do all of the work for you. If you're genuinely curious about people or you would like to be, start by asking questions, being curious and interested. Another important thing to keep in mind for this one is to be open-minded. There's nothing worse than having a conversation with someone that thinks they already know everything or has no room to grow or evolve, or just be open-minded about someone else's opinions or their thoughts as well, so keep this in mind. Number 4, we've got listening, and this is a huge one that I think a lot of people these days tend to overlook. Interestingly enough, something as simple as just listening can make a huge difference in a conversation. People who are interested in others often seem more interesting to other people as well, and by simply listening is a great way to show this. Being a good conversationalist is a lot more than just being a good talker, and it also includes being a good listener. Good questions and a great conversation stem from that genuine curiosity and interest that I mentioned in my last point. Regard everyone you meet as an opportunity to learn something and go in with the idea that everyone has something interesting about them that you could have the opportunity to learn and listen about. And something that I wanted to mention here that I feel like a lot of people struggle with is the ability to genuinely listen to what someone is saying instead of constantly just thinking about what you're going to say next. I see a lot of people do this. It often leads to not even answering the question, not even hearing what the other person said, or interrupting, which we want to avoid in a conversation if we want to consider it a good one. Number 5 is to focus on the positives. There is nothing worse than having a conversation with a Debbie Downer, a negative Nelly. We don't want to be anything like that. You want to keep things positive and light, especially in the beginning when you're just getting to know someone, and develop a forward-thinking mentality. And what I mean by that is thinking about solutions rather than problems, thinking about the positives instead of the negatives. Speaking with someone who is constantly complaining or negative is just an energy vampire, and you don't want anyone walking away from a conversation feeling like you've drained them of all their energy. So an example here would be to talk about things you're excited about for the future instead of wasting time talking about how bad your morning was. Again, that forward-thinking mentality, talking about goals for the future, keeping it positive, is going to make you a better conversationalist. Point number 6 that I have here is asking the right questions. So there's a difference between asking a lot of questions and specifically asking the right ones. You don't want it to feel like an interrogation center, so really asking the right questions is going to make a huge difference and lead to a deeper, more meaningful conversation. For example, say you ask her what she does for a living. Instead of just bouncing from one topic to the next, dive a little bit deeper into the answer that she gives you. So for example, if you were asking me what I do for a living, I would tell you that I'm a YouTuber. Instead of just bouncing to something else, ask me, oh, what made you want to become a YouTuber? Or what are your favorite topics to write videos about? That way it gets me talking about it a little bit deeper. You get even deeper into that specific topic and kind of snowball from there instead of bouncing from one thing to the next and being all over the place. By doing this, the other person might bring up their past or desires for the future, which again, adopting that forward-thinking mentality will make for a great conversation. And the last point on my list today is equal sharing. Have you ever gone out with someone and they sit there and talk about themselves the entire date or meeting or whatever it is, and you didn't contribute anything to the conversation, but that's because the other person didn't even give you a chance to? You want to make sure you're not the one talking the entire time and you're letting that other person talk too by asking them questions and getting to know them as well. So equal sharing is not just the amount that you're talking, but also the substance of what you're talking about specifically. So if they're getting a little bit deeper with you, they're sharing some more vulnerable things, you wouldn't want to just be talking about surface level topics that, don't really allow that other person to get to know you. So keep this in mind. It should be equal with the amount that you're talking and also the substance of what you're saying. And a bonus here is find their golden nugget. So believe it or not, I actually learned this in sorority recruitment when I was in college. I don't know if it's a secret that I'm not supposed to share with you, but here we are. So a golden nugget is something that other person really enjoys talking about. Maybe they get excited about it when you bring it up. Maybe they light up when they're talking about it. It's just something that gets this other person excited and talking. When someone is talking about something that they're passionate about or that they really enjoy, they're going to light up and be excited to talk about it, which is going to help the conversation flow a lot more effortlessly and also have that other person walk away from the conversation thinking that it was a really good one because they talked about something that they genuinely like. Also, people love talking about themselves. This is just a proven thing about human nature. So she's gonna walk away from that conversation feeling like she had a great conversation with you because she was able to talk about something that she genuinely enjoys. So just to wrap things up here, we had be a good storyteller, become well read, be genuinely curious and interested, listen, be positive, ask the right questions, equal sharing, and find that golden nugget. All of these things play into making you a better conversationalist and making you stand out from the crowd. So next time you go into an important conversation, be sure to give all of these tips a try and let me know down in the comments below how they've helped you. If you liked this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys on there, and it's a great place to connect with me a little bit more one-on-one, participate in Q&As, and participate in future videos I do on my channel as well. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.